Right, hi guys. So obviously everyone's talking about this Canon EOS R5, so I thought I'd better have a look at it. It's not something I'm actually going to buy, but I'm sure a couple of friends of mine may be looking at it. Obviously, it can. One of the biggest things they're obviously releasing now is this 8K video ability, and the fact that it can do some seriously amazing things with it. 8K 30 frames per second. I can even do 120 frames a second in 4K, that's a really nice touch. But the question answers, do you need 8K? The only time I ever really shoot 4K is on my GoPro, because obviously you can't zoom in and out on that. So it's quite handy to crop in after, like on in software. So basically, you can crop in a bit and utilize the quality of the video footage there to sort of back to 1080p kind of thing. So I suppose in some respects, an 8K crop back to 4K, or even an 8K crop down to 1080p would be quite a nice thing. The only trouble I think with the 8K video situation is a lot of us photographers have upgraded our computers over the last year, maybe 2 years, probably to now deal with 4K. Some people have been holding back, this, that, and the other, and you know you're sort of one step behind again, because how much processing power and how much how much is your graphics card going to have to deal with 8K video footage, especially if it's in RAW. That's one thing to contemplate. You might buy this camera. I don't know how much it's going to be, but it's not going to be cheap. But are you going to have to upgrade your computer at the same time just to deal with that sort of thing? I mean, it's an amazing bit of equipment by the looks of it. Looks good, and obviously there's plenty of tech in there. 5-axis stabilization, so basically they've brought up to date with the Sonys and the other cameras that have got 5-axis stabilization now. So that's a good thing, because it's very, very helpful. And I'm guessing it's going to be around about 45 megapixels. They don't actually say anywhere what megapixels the sensor is, but I imagine it's going to be something like that, or thereabouts. So it's a brand it's a brand new sensor apparently, and it's an up-to-date piece of equipment. So I don't really know what the difference will be, if we're going to see anything better quality-wise, image quality. I mean, you look at all the cameras nowadays, everything from the Sonys, the Fujis, the Canons, Nikon, whatever, they're all producing insanely, really, really good quality images. Massive amounts of dynamic range to play with. They're great in low light. It's only the people who start pixel peeping and going, oh, it's a little bit grainy than this, that, and the other. It's like, well, yeah, okay, but at the end of the day, it's not that much of a drama. Most cameras can shoot ISO 5000 with no real drama at all. The full frame stuff, and so it's an ongoing changing technology, which is great. And this also makes you wonder what Sony are going to do now, because obviously we were going to have the A7S III, which was announced but not really announced, and people are talking about it, this, that, and the other, and then nothing really appeared. They were talking about things, and it's obviously down to the size of the body. I mean, obviously Canon are keeping their bodies large, DSLR sort of size, which obviously gives them more space, allows better cooling and things like that. So where Sony went the smaller camera, which they have their place. At the end of the day, my bag is now lighter and smaller than I was when I had a DSLR. So it depends on what you need at the end of the day. And this camera is obviously for a particular market, and not everyone's going to need this piece of equipment. And it's a bit like me using the Sony A7R4, 60 megapixels. Who really needs that? It's very, very good to have, but obviously you've got to have the budget to cover it, and obviously the lenses and everything to go with it. So it's the same situation with this. What do you really need? Yes, it's going to be awesome. I can imagine it's going to be a really, really good bit of kit, because Canon have now pushed hard to catch up with everyone, and they have done so. Obviously, and maybe even surpassed everyone else, which is really good, because it now pushes Sony, Nikon, Fuji, whatever, to get innovating again and actually producing some more interesting, up-to-date technologies that maybe hasn't been done yet. So that'd be interesting to see. Anyway, back to the camera. I mean, you probably all know this anyway. I mean, it's all out there. You can read it, but up to 20 frames a second, which is is quite a good thing. But 12 frames per second on mechanical shutter and 20 in silent shutter. So anywhere between 10 and 20 is a fast camera. It's very, very handy to have that. Obviously, it's not going to be 20 frames a second with the autofocus. If you lock it into manual focus, then you can obviously get the full 20, same as the 12. It probably do, I imagine, 8 or something whilst tracking. Who knows? But obviously, if you want something slightly faster, you can. There's other cameras out there. So autofocus and subject detection. So it's obviously got an up-to-date dual pixel CMOS AF technology, and it's high-speed autofocus. It's much faster. In fact, it's basically got the same. I think it's the same. Adopted from the EOS 1DX Mark III. So very, very fast autofocus. Larger than life 8K video. So this is where you're going to need some serious processing power for the editing side of things. So it's not the case of you can not use it. It's a case of, if you started filming quite a bit of I don't know what's it doing here. It does 8K at 29 frames per second, 30 frames a second, and 4K up to 120 frames per second in 422 10-bit, which is pretty mad. If you even probably a 5-minute video, if you were if you were cutting together a few clips here or there and actually making a bit of a video, 5-10 minutes or something like that, it's going to take some serious processing power just to deal with that. So that's it's going to be interesting to see. Like I was talking about computer upgrades, it may be a case of some major upgrades on that. I don't really know, but depends on what you're running at the end of the day. And I was talking about the image stabilization. It is the first Canon camera to incorporate the 5-axis IBIS, the in-body stabilization. And I mean, I've had image body stabilization since Konica Minolta days. So I had the Konica Minolta 7D. In fact, I had two for work, and brilliant cameras. Obviously, back then we were 6 megapixels, 6.1. A lot more clunky and a lot less refined than their cameras are today. But it allowed you to get some photos that are a lot easier with slower shutter speeds and things like that than you could do with the Nikon or Canon at the time. So I've had it from day one right through to now with the Sonys. So it's one of the best things ever to really have in the camera, and it's good that actually Canon have actually are now adopting it, which is because you'll notice if you haven't had it before, it really does allow you to do some really good images. It help if you've got a high megapixel sensor, it helps stabilize that and give you sharper images without too much hassle. But also I can hand hold my A7R Mark IV almost a second, I think, and in a good day. Handheld 1 second and you'll still get a sharp shot. Half second's quite easy. 1 second, it's kind of hold your breath and do that. It's got dual card slots. So CF Express card slot plus the UHS 2 SD card slot, which is strange because I would have thought they would have put two of the same, but maybe that just helps keep costs down, or I suppose one for the photos, one for video. Not really sure. But also it's now got the convenience in the cloud, so it's got supports automatic transfer image and video files from the device on to your new image.canon cloud platform. So if you're using it for work and you need to get it to a computer or up into the cloud instantly so someone can edit it and stuff for you, blah blah blah, it's available. So that's very, very good. And that's basically it really. Obviously it's going to be nice to hold. It's not the ergonomics and everything on the Canons are very good. I mean, I've only used a few, and I can't really talk about. I mean, I'm used to the Sony's. The A7R4 is very good. everyone's got their different ratings at the end of the day. Everyone likes something different. So end of the day, and it's also what you're used to. So if someone gave me this, I'd probably think it's too big, probably a little bit heavier than I'm used to, this, that and the other. Still doesn't mean it's not going to take amazing pictures and it's not going to be amazing to use. It's just slightly different. The menu system's obviously going to be different. I'm used to the Sonys, I've used them for years, so I can go through the Sony menu with my eyes shut and actually change settings without even looking really, because I know exactly where they are. Now with all the customization buttons and this, that and the other, it's made everything so much easier. And I'd imagine it's the same for this Canon as well. But yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if I can actually have a go with one. It'd be great. I'm sure we'll do it at some point once it's released and everything. I'm sure I will know someone who's got one on order. It'd be interesting to have a look. I'm still actually, well, once we get out of this lockdown thing, I'm actually I've got a friend who has got the EOS 1D Mark III. He's got one of those, and he said I could actually have a play with it and review it and see what I thought as a Sony user, just as a a different view really. I'm not a Canon lover. I mean, brands aren't really my thing. Yes, I use Sony, and obviously I have done for a long time, but that's my choice at the end of the day, and what I've got used to using, and they work. They do what I want them to do, and obviously everyone's got a different experience, this, that, and the other. But it doesn't matter. It wouldn't matter if it had a Canon badge on it or a Nikon badge, Hasselblad or anything like that. I would still use it for what I wanted it for at the period of time I bought it, because of the functions and everything it had. So it's not to do with the brand at all. I'm not a brand, nutter, as such, a fanboy as such. Yes, I say I do use Sony, but that's because it works for me and what I wanted it to do. And like I say, if it was a Canon, it'd be a Canon. It wouldn't make any difference to me. It's like owning your own car. You pick a particular car because you like it, and someone else might not like it. Oh well, whatever. They're not driving it, are they? So it doesn't matter. But yeah, that's it, guys. Yeah, any sort of thoughts on this camera? I mean, I don't know what. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be amazing to see it in use, I think, and I just think it's pushing technology a little bit further. Do we need all this? That's another question. Do we need all this amazing? I mean, it's amazing we've got it, and amazing the technology has got better and better and better. But how long before, are we really taking the pictures anymore, or is it down to sheer luck, or the computer's working so fast that it helps you? I remember the days of, you'd struggle to get things in focus because the camera wasn't quick enough, so sometimes you'd actually resort to using manual focus because you could find it easier. It's a bit like using macro lenses. I generally knock it into manual and just put it on 1:1 and move in and out until I get it what I want in focus. But there's lots of ways and means, and that's why photography is so good. Either as a job or a hobby, it keeps you motivated. And yeah, the technology is there, but like I say, sometimes it's easier just to go a little bit more simple and actually not utilise. Sometimes I don't, I just full manual, don't even look at the pictures, just take what I want, don't check them until I get home, and then if I've got some good ones, I've got some good ones. Just kind of step back in time a little bit. I know it's not film, but just slow down. This and other. These tools that these professional tools like the R5 and the A9 II, the A7R4, stuff like that, they are particularly made to do a job, and they do it very well. And yes, some people buy them as because they've got the funding that they can afford to buy the best cameras out there. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but obviously some people don't use them to their full abilities, not because they can't, but it's because they don't do what they were designed to do. Like the EOS 1 Mark III is kind of basically a sports camera or wildlife camera that is basically a machine gun. Amazing bit of kit, and it's designed to sit there all day on the edge of a football field or whatever and just literally just blitz constantly. It's that fast, and the way the memory works now, it literally just doesn't fill up the buffer. It literally just straight on the card. And you can't, you literally try and exhaust it. It's like a minigun. So there's all that sort of thing. that we've got to take into consideration. That is, do you need to buy this camera? Is it way above most people's expectations of what a camera really needs to be? I know the mobile phone side of things is amazing, but I suppose they've got to stay ahead of that. There's lots involved, but like I say, it's going to be very interesting to see what Sony and Fuji and other companies, Nikon, are going to push out now. It's going to be interesting to see where this is like another benchmark, isn't it? That is going to push it even higher. I can't see myself buying another camera for another few years. Especially on the A7R4 side of things, because it's awesome. Does exactly what I need it to do. I can't say I've got frustrated with it at all or anything like that. For me, it's the ideal camera at the moment. Like I say, comment down below, guys. What's your ideal camera? What do you think is the perfect camera? For your particular thing, because everything. This is why we're so lucky, because there's so many companies out there that are producing so many different products that we can pick and choose, and different budgets, different styles of photography, different jobs, so obviously sports or products, this, that, and the other. It allows you to do so much stuff. But it's just interesting, isn't it, to see how Sony were literally just plumbing ahead, and it almost got to a point where it looked like they had kind of run out of ideas almost. They were like, oh, okay, well, it's a bit like that rally driver, isn't it? The rally driver who gets so far ahead on the racing that he's actually got about 5 minutes of spare time, kind of thing, so he can slow down, he can chill, and actually not have to worry about trying to stay ahead, because he's not too bothered. He can actually relax and actually just finish the race, kind of thing. Even though this isn't a race, it's a product that is always evolving, and it just makes you wonder. I mean, the last 12 years or so, how things have changed to what we have now is incredible, and it's just about to step up another game again. And where does this technology end? That's the question. Are we going to have 60K in the next 10 years or something crazy? It's all dependent on what we need, really, and what we actually sell, I guess. I mean, all this eye tracking, which is amazing, like animals and humans, works really well. You know, with the Sony's updates and everything on the A7R4, for example, I don't think I've missed a shot ever, actually, with it. With the eye autofocus working, shooting wide open, it just works. It's absolutely a brilliant tool. You can compose your shot and it's already focusing on the eyes, so you don't even have to sort of do the old thing of sort your focus out, lock it, and then recompose, kind of thing. You obviously don't need to do that anymore, and that's one hell of a time-saving implement. And you can get the shots without even. Sometimes things happen for not a reason, but sometimes things happen, and you react to that photo. You react by taking that photo, and the fact that the cameras now are so fast that it's sorted everything out for you, kind of thing, before you've even snapped that picture. And back in the old days where you would have been out of focus, it couldn't be that quick, this, that, and the other. It makes a huge difference to what is actually doable, and basically, you could turn the camera, have the camera looking down at you, looking at the ground, see something, flick it on, aim it roughly in the direction, and it's focused on it, and it's locked on to a moving subject or whatever. When I did it when I first got the A7R4, there was a dragonfly flying around, and I basically just aimed it. I didn't even look through the viewfinder. I just aimed it roughly, and it locked onto the dragonfly, and I got 20 shots, something like, yeah, 10 or 20 shots of it. Absolutely mad, And 3 years down the line, 3 years beforehand, I was sitting on the edge of a pond, watching a dragonfly go round and round, and spent 25 minutes to. Ideally it was almost like a posed shot, and it was the shot I really wanted, but I had to manually focus the camera to get the right shot, because it just wouldn't focus fast enough. And that's where the technology has gone. It's so fast now. doesn't matter which camera you're using at the end of the day. The technology now is that good that it's made photography a lot easier. One, for the jobs, it makes your efficiency, the way you work and everything, much better. But also for people just doing it as a hobby. It's allowing us to get shots that we could never get 10 years ago with ease. And I think that's a major thing. But sometimes it does make you wonder: is it going to make us lose the love of it? Too much help, taking away that sort of passion. That's the only worry I've got a little bit about, is if you lose the passion of photography. And work-wise, obviously, some people work full-time, this, that and the other, and obviously you've got to put some kind of passion. It's your job, but it's also a passion. You don't take up photography and do it as a profession if you don't love doing it. And you've got to put in what you want to get out of it at the end of the day, so you push yourself harder and harder and harder to get some amazing shots, I'm sure. But it's the same as a hobby. How far and how often do you pick up that camera to try and get better and better and better? And if you've got, if this R5, for example, or the EOS 1 Mark III, if you're using it as a professional tool, absolutely great. It's basically going to be a workhorse. It's going to be shooting all day long. That's what it's for. But if you're spending that much money and only using it once a month or once a week or once every 2 weeks or something like that, you're never really going to learn the camera. I think that's, learn its ways and get the best out of it. And I think that's where you can actually spend a lot less and still get the amazing shots and still get amazing quality. But it's just one of those things, isn't it? You just got to look at the availability of equipment. We're so lucky with the amount of choice we have. I had a look on Wex last night, actually, and you sort of look at one camera company, Fuji for example, and they've got, say, 20 cameras available, and there's always adding a new one, aren't they? And the same as Sony, you've got all those different cameras, you've got Canon, so it's actually probably over 100 cameras quite easily available to buy. From very low budget, from £99 right up to sort of 7,000 or 8,000. Plus, then you get into Hasselblad, which obviously 20 grand, some of them or more. And so the range of availability of different products is incredible. And the fact you have got obviously the R5 coming out, which is obviously a flagship camera in the mirrorless side of things. It's how much is it going to be? Is it going to be affordable, or is it going to be a typical sort of a bit like 6 grand, 7,000? Is it going to be out of the reach of most people? That's the trouble. Or they're going to bring out I don't know. They bring out a cheaper version of it that is almost as good, but not quite. And it makes it a little bit more affordable. But we shall see. And be interesting to let's say try it out if I can somewhere, and just to see what the difference is, really. I'm not going to buy one because I've got everything I need, and everything I'm using at the moment is fine. What makes I get the shots I want, and I don't really need 8K for what I do. I've got 60 megapixels to play with anyway, so even the 45. I've got IBIS, and fast autofocus, a good burst rate of 10 frames per second. It's probably enough, really, for what I do. Like I say, it's all down to your personal choice at the end of the day. So anyway, that's me talking crap, guys, for 24 minutes and 12 seconds. So don't forget to click the subscribe button. Any comments or thoughts about this? This is me just blabbering, just looking at some of the specs, this and the other, thinking about my cameras I've used or use now. So it's it's interesting, isn't it, how things are changing. And I did wonder what was going to happen, because Sony had sort of slowed right down, so it should be interesting to see what they do next. But I'm not going to be buying anything soon. That's the thing, because I'm very happy with what I'm using now. So unless they bring out the RX10 Mark V, that could be a different situation. But on the full frame side of things, I'm very happy. Anyway guys, don't forget to click the subscribe button and the little notification bell, and I look forward to reading some comments below, and obviously please check out some of my other videos, and I shall see you soon.